Today, our topic is the Meiji Constitution of 1889. This lecture shall comprise three parts. First of all, we shall discuss the background of the Meiji Constitution of 1889. Then shall come the features of the Meiji Constitution and which were the general characteristics of the Meiji Constitution. And in the last section or in the last part, we shall deal with the nature of the Meiji Constitution, and we shall also discuss whether the Meiji Constitution could introduce a democratic setup in Japan after the Meiji Restoration. In fact, after the Meiji Restoration of 1867, some far-reaching changes took place in the political, economic and social realm of Japan. Against such a background, a new constitution emerged. The Meiji rulers wanted to introduce a new constitution in Japan, and eventually it came into existence in 1889, which popularly came to be known as the Meiji Constitution. The Meiji Constitution had its roots in the Charter Oath of 1868, but the government was not in a hurry to introduce a new constitution. But during 1872-73, some changes began to come. In fact, the entire effort to introduce a new constitution or the movements for the political rights began to gather momentum from that period. During that period, several government and non-government organizations raised the demand for a national representative assembly. Gradually, the demands crossing the local levels, it became a national issue in Japan. Primarily, the Meiji government paid very little heed to the demands of the people, that is, the demand for introducing a national legislative assembly along with a new constitution. Several groups got involved in a debate regarding the power, position and prestige of the emperor. Quite a few number of Japanese intellectuals were inspired and influenced by the idea of Declaration of Rights of Men, but they demanded a constitution, but that constitution did not come at ease. In fact, according to Richard Gordon, a famous historian on Japan, aptly remarked that, quote, "In Meiji Japan, one finds no republican in classical sense of the term. Most of the participants in the political debates expressed the opinion that the emperor would hold a supreme and sovereign power in the new state system." Increasing demands for democratic rights, however, reached its climax in 1881. In that particular year, that is in 1881, a new political party called Juto, or the Japanese Liberal Party, came into existence. Itagaki was its leader. The party spoke of popular sovereignty and demanded an assembly for discussing a constitution. Just after 1 year, that is in the year 1882, another party came into existence called Kaishinto Party, or the Progressive Party of Japan. Its leader was Okuma Shigenobu. This party demanded a strong legislature in the lines of the Great Britain. Both the political parties demanded a national legislative assembly, and at the same time both considered the Meiji emperor as the symbol of national integrity and political unity of Japan. Then the Meiji rulers decided to introduce a conservative constitution to pacify the demand of the people and also to pacify the public opinion. Ito Hirofumi, a Chosu leader of prominence, was entrusted with the responsibility of drafting the new constitution in Japan. In the early 1880s, Hirobumi travelled extensively in Europe and he visited several countries of Europe, but he spent a considerable length of time in Germany. In fact, authoritarian and conservative tradition of Germany very much impressed Ito Hirobumi, because Ito Hirobumi himself was a man of conservative ideas and conservative outlook. Hermann Roessler, an advisor to the German External Affairs Department, played a vital role to draft the Japanese constitution. He had played really a serious role in drafting this Meiji constitution. It was natural that the nature of the Meiji constitution would be conservative, and Richard Story, a famous historian on Japan, aptly remarked that the Meiji constitution was framed by the men of authoritarian turn of mind. Now, we are going to the second section of our discussion, that is the features of the Meiji constitution, and we shall deal with the main characteristics of the Meiji constitution. On 11th February 1889, the Emperor Meiji announced the Meiji constitution and he handed it over to the Prime Minister of Japan. In the constitution, that is, in fact in this document, the emperor held the supreme position. The position of the emperor had been described in this constitution as sacred and inviolable. The emperor had the power to issue ordinances, but those ordinances could not be implemented unless it was being approved by the representative assembly or the imperial diet. The emperor exercised supreme command over the army and the navy. He was also empowered to declare war, to sue for peace and make treaties with the other countries. Theoretically, the emperor was the head of the executive, the legislature as well as of the judiciary. In fact, the Meiji constitution had been executed almost 100 years after the French Revolution. The French Revolution followed the ideal of the theory of separation of power, but in the Meiji constitution, the principle of separation of power was not followed, as all the powers regarding judiciary, executive and legislative all remained in the hands of the emperor. The emperor exercised administrative duties with two constitutional advisory bodies. Number one, Council of Ministers, and number two, the Privy Council. The Council of Ministers remained responsible not to the assembly or the imperial diet, but to the emperor himself. In reality, the ruling oligarchy exercised absolute and immense power in the name of the emperor. All the powers and functions of the emperor and the prestige of the emperor were enshrined in the Articles 1 to 17 of the Meiji constitution. The emperor had also the power to suspend or temporarily disband the imperial diet for the time being, and when the diet was not in session, imperial ordinances would take place of general laws enacted by the imperial diet. In the next part, that is Article 18 to 32, the rights and duties of the citizens had been dealt with seriously. The Meiji constitution recognized the rights of the citizens, and among these rights, important rights were the freedom of expression, freedom of religion, right to assemble, right to property, so on and so forth. But at the same time, it was categorically mentioned in the constitution that all such rights should remain restricted by the laws of the land. articles 33 to 54 dealt with the National Legislative Assembly or the Imperial Diet. The Imperial Diet was a bicameral legislature. It had one upper house and the one lower house. The upper house was called the House of Peers. It had 368 members. The members of the aristocracy, representatives of the highest tax-paying citizens, and the nominees of the emperors would become the members of the House of Peers or the upper house. The lower house was called the House of Representatives. They were elected on the basis of a franchise based on property qualifications. Only the rich and the highest tax-paying citizens were entitled to vote. Hence, as a result, in the time of beginning of the constitution, we see that only 1% of the entire Japanese populace were entitled to the right to franchise. They could only exercise their right to franchise, they could only vote. In the 1990s, the number increased, but to a very lesser extent. In the 1990s, only 5% of the total Japanese population earned the right to franchise. In fact, this system divided the Japanese citizens into two parts: active citizens and passive citizens. Those who were propertied, those who had the right to vote, they considered themselves to be the active citizens, whereas those who were deprived of the right to franchise, they considered themselves to be passive citizens. However, the Imperial Diet enjoyed a very important financial right. The annual budget required their consent. If the Imperial Diet did not put its sanction and consent in any budget, then the budget of the previous year would generally continue. We are going to the third section of our discussion, that is the nature of the Meiji Constitution. In fact, the Meiji Constitution reflected the combination of two features: one, obligation to the state, and two, political rights enjoyed by the people in Japan. Obligation to the state included compulsory joining in the army, compulsory acceptance of primary education, and payment of taxes. The franchise was restricted as the rulers were interested in avoiding any opposition from any opposition groups. The constitution was essentially conservative in nature, and it was far from being a democratic constitution. Tyrannical power had a special place in the Meiji Constitution of 1889. Important political power rested with the House of Peers, which was quite unnatural and which revealed that the architects of the constitution wanted to protect the class interest of the aristocracy as well as of the propertied class. The House of Peers enjoyed the right to nullify any law enacted by the lower house, that is the House of the Representatives. It could veto any law enacted by the lower house. In fact, in that sense, the House of Peers or the upper house in Japan enjoyed much more power than that of the House of Lords in England. Nathaniel Pfeffer, an expert on the history of the Far East, brilliantly summed up that the new constitution was introduced to strengthen the oligarchic rule in Japan. He categorically stated, quote, "With the constitution, a cabinet, a diet, and all the trappings of the 19th century government, Japan remained a feudal oligarchy." According to John Halliday, the Meiji Constitution was framed to ensure the security of the aristocracy as well as of the propertied class. Another very famous historian, Walter Maclaren, stated, the main purpose of the ruling oligarchy was to extend and consolidate its control over the local affairs, and its secondary object was to enfranchise the people as small a degree as possible. Unquote. In fact, Maclaren wanted to emphasize that the ruling oligarchy in Japan, with an intention to introduce a centralized system of administration, promulgated the new constitution. The Meiji Constitution of 1889 was the result of a long-run democratic movements in Japan. Several political parties, particularly Gyuto and Kaishinto, they demanded an assembly, they demanded a constitution, and they wanted that some shape of democracy should come in Japan. But a section of the Japanese citizens also clamored for a representative government as well as for democracy. But essentially, the constitution lacked any essential democratic ideas and values. It gave the emperor not only supreme and sovereign power, it also gave the emperor a sacrosanct position, and people interest was absolutely neglected. All the particularly the political rights enjoyed by the citizens of Japan were very much checked by laws, and as it was stated, which we have said earlier, that it was categorically pointed in the Constitution of 1889 that the people should enjoy rights in accordance with the limitations of the laws of the land. In fact, the Meiji rulers wanted to transform Japan into a modern state. After the Meiji Restoration of 1867, they introduced certain important reforms. In the field of land reforms, they made something important things by which the feudalism was abolished. In the field of education, important progressive reforms had also been initiated, particularly in the field of economy. The process of industrialization was very much important, and it was much importance were given by the Meiji rulers. But in the realm of politics, they were reluctant to give political rights to its citizens, and hence such a conservative constitution was promulgated. In fact, the Meiji rulers pledged that they wanted to turn Japan into a modern state, but the modern ideas of the 19th century world, that is, the ideas like liberalism, democracy and other progressive ideas, were blatantly ignored by the Meiji rulers when they tried to introduce the new constitution, that is the Meiji Constitution of 1889. So, we again repeat, Richard Story was absolutely right in claiming that the Meiji Constitution of Japan was framed by the men of authoritarian turn of mind. They had no democratic ideas and democratic values, which they absolutely and entirely lacked. To summarize this topic, we may tell that in time of introducing the Meiji Constitution of 1889, the new Constitution of Japan, though had its roots in the Charter Oath of 1868, actually the people with authoritarian and undemocratic bent of mind wanted to promulgate a new constitution. The Japanese leaders wanted to give the emperor a position which would always remain sacred and inviolable. The constitution elaborately discussed the power and position of the emperor, composition of the legislature and the imperial diet, and rights and duties of the citizens, but the main emphasis lay on the position of power and in fact the ruling oligarchy played a very powerful role in the name of the emperor, and they enjoyed the real political power in Meiji Japan. The citizens would enjoy certain rights, but all their rights were restricted by the laws of the land. Upper house of the constitution enjoyed enormous power. They had the power to give veto to the laws enacted by the lower house or the house of representatives. The architects of the Meiji constitution in fact blatantly ignored the political ideas of the 19th century, which I have told, that is the democracy and liberalism. It was essentially tyrannical, authoritarian and a conservative constitution which came into existence in Japan in 1889.